Oh. Oh.
We have this little thing. Okay, I'm gonna start over. Cut that out. Jessica Bunch, welcome to the O podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
This is already going great.
10 out of 10.
Well, are you nervous?
I don't think so, just because I know I can sit and talk to you
Yeah.
for hours, and I
know.
just forget that other people might listen.
We're all in our own head all the time, thinking about ourselves like 24/7, it seems.
Yeah, we're our own main characters, and
Like when I interview my friends, I just love because I'm like constantly thinking about them. So I've been thinking about you quite a bit.
oh, thanks.
I know like we'll definitely get into it. You are just such an ally and you support women so much and like minority communities. And I just think that's so beautiful about you.
Well, thank you.
And I don't know, I was like thinking about this because we're would you consider us newer friends-ish?
Yeah, newish.
Within like maybe a year and a half?
Yeah, and I think we've really just gotten closer in
Yeah.
the last couple months, so it definitely feels newer.
Right, for sure. It's just like so interesting to me because I mean I'm 32, so it's like there's 32 years of stuff that you are getting to know, and I think that's a lot of us have been friends with people for many, many years, and so they came along with the journey.
Yeah.
And so I think that's beautiful, but I was thinking about you specifically, and for me, I mean everyone knows I've been on my therapy journey. So anyone's energy just really affects me, whether it's positive or negative. You and that group of friends is just such an energy giver.
Good.
And I love that so much, and I think that's probably like why like we've been hanging out more.
Yeah.
You specifically, what I've noticed with you, and one of like my favorite qualities about you is you genuinely just like think about everyone else.
Thank you.
Going back to like we're all in our own heads all the time thinking about ourselves. Like, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to open it up and start there. And I don't know if you've even, like, do you notice that you do that?
Oh, yeah. It's been a lifelong issue and blessing at the same time.
I believe it.
It took a lot of years of therapy and growth to not let people like trample over me and only think about like what benefits other people. But I think I'm in a much healthier space now of like knowing my own boundaries, but also I do care about other people. Like I just...
Yeah.
I guess for the listeners, it should
Like
be clear that I'm a Cancer, Cancer Pisces.
I was going to tell you, I was going to have you tell them. So your sun's Cancer, and then your
moon is Pisces.
Oh wow!
And I'm a Leo
I
rising.
About you. It's a lot of
So I
sad girl
pretend
energy.
I pretend to be extroverted, but really I just want to cry in bed with my feelings. I've always been like people say the mom of the group, but I think it's also older sister energy of. Yeah. I've just been the one to gather people, and I like bringing people together. And I think that has shown in also my professional experience and my volunteer experience, but it's the same way with friendships too. And I have tried to do that less with this new group of friends, so I'm not so self-reliant on certain groups of people.
Specifically, what have you been trying to do less?
Like trying to be the one who make all the plans and have to go to everything and not feel bad when I have to cancel because my body says I need rest.
Yes. I literally just did that to you last weekend.
I did it too the weekend before that. So.
I love that. I think it's good to have boundaries for sure. The beautiful thing about having new friends is there's no expectation.
Yeah.
Because I know some people, like when you try to enforce the boundary after 10 years of friendship, it's hard and it's a weird transition.
Yeah.
So.
To not be available at a drop of a hat anytime.
Yeah.
But I think with this group, I don't feel that at all. And some of the friends are like people I've known for 20 more years. And it's been a while since I've had new friends. And it has been interesting that I don't know your story and you don't know all of my story. And so I forget that sometimes when I start talking about things and I'm like, oh, wait, Abby probably doesn't know that that's what my life was for like 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you had a party at your house and that's how we initially met, I think.
I think so.
But where we truly bonded and actually I feel like our friendship started blossoming was we went on a ski trip. You and I were the only two that weren't skiing.
Yeah, because we're smart.
Exactly. I mean, I could talk to a wall. So I actually wasn't worried, but I was like, I don't know. Like,
I was terrified.
If we don't... I'm like, if we don't get along, it's going to be a long, however many hours.
Yeah, I was like, or I was more like, what if she wants to talk the whole time? Like, I just want to crochet and read my book.
I mean, I kind of did.
I know, but I was okay with it. It's like one of those, I say I don't want to talk to people, and then I'll talk your ear off. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think we shut up. But maybe, like, I started reading a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like we just started trauma dumping.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because I don't know how to small talk. I only know how to dive into the deep end.
In fact, I don't want to.
Yeah. I don't care, Luke. How are you? I want to really know, how are you?
Yes, exactly. You were going through, I mean, you still are going through a lot of health stuff.
Yeah.
And so, like, I followed you on social media. And so I'm seeing you in the hospital, you know, wishing you well. And I'm like, I don't really know many details of this. And so I was thinking, like, I can't sit across from her and not ask.
Yeah.
You know, and some people are, you know, more reserved. But
yeah. No, when it comes to medical stuff, I am an open book. Because one, I think a lot of it is scary. You might not know who's gone through a similar thing. So, like, you're scared of, like, it's the, like, what ifs kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And also, as a fat woman, often in medical situations, you're not really getting real health care. They look at your weight and then write it off. I remember one time I went to the ER because my doctor thought I was, like, having a heart attack because I was in for just a general checkup, and my blood pressure was ridiculously high. Like, I should have been in a coma. Yeah. So she's like, I want you to go to the ER right now. Go to the ER. There forever. The blood pressure lowered, and the doctor was just like, you know, I think you just need to eat less salt and maybe get a dog so you walk more.
Are you kidding me?
And then that was a $2,000 ER visit for being there for an hour. Like, only saw the doctor for less than 5 minutes, and that was the answer.
I hate that so much.
Yeah. So that's why, especially on social media, when I was going through my medical mystery, I was posting a lot because I was doing a lot of tests that I had never heard of. Mm-hmm. And also I wanted, one, we didn't know what was wrong with me. So if I could find other people with similar stories.
Yeah. And that's scary in itself.
Yeah. Like, nothing is more terrifying than the doctor saying, you're a real enigma. Like, yeah. Thanks, cool.
Seriously.
So I just wanted to walk people through, like, here's what this test looked like. You can remember I had a stomach emptying exam. So for that, I tried to record on socials everything that was happening because I've never heard of it. Yeah. It's literally you go and you eat radioactive eggs. They, like, sprinkle radioactive powder into some scrambled eggs. And then...
That's so scary.
Right?
Like, what is this going to do? Like, yeah. Is there, like, lasting side effects?
Yeah, well, I have, like, glow-in-the-dark poop. I was kind of excited for that. And they said no. And
I was going to say, did you?
No. I was really looking forward to it. New bathroom experience.
Did you turn the lights off?
Of course I did. Okay. I had to check. But what you do after you eat it, like, every hour, then you stand in this very weird machine that is x-raying you, but it's not an x-ray, to see where the radioactive particles are and how they travel through your intestines, so they can see, like, as they move from your stomach to your liver to your gallbladder, to see, like, how the food is moving. And it's to determine, like, one, is your stomach emptying properly, and two, is it all getting stuck somewhere?
Yeah.
And they said it was fine. And I said, can I take a picture of the screen? And they said, no. And I was like, that's really rude. It's my body. Why can't I take a picture of my own body scan?
Yeah, truly. It's like, can I get copies of that?
Yeah. Like,
can I actually get the video? I'm going to post this to social media.
I tried to be like, my sister is just really worried about me. So can I take a picture of this to show her? And they're like, no.
No, I think it's so good because just TikTok in general, or any socials, just having more information is for the better. Mm-hmm. And there have been times, even, like, for me too, like, where it's not like I have this, like, crazy pain that no one can figure out, but just, I'm like, there's symptoms happening and I know it's not normal, and I know what I'm eating, what I'm exercising, and the way my body's behaving does not match. Mm-hmm. But no one believes you.
Of course not.
So, like, I had, like, my PCOS journey, and I think that's what we, like, started talking about when we first trauma dumped.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a pelvic ultrasound?
Oh, I've had a lot over the last couple of years. I have one scheduled for a couple weeks.
Oh my gosh. Good luck. I hate it.
I hate them. They're the worst.
It is. It's just, the first one, the tech, she was so nice, but it took, like, she was doing the pelvic ultrasound in my body, I swear, like, no less than 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that's a long time.
She had me, like, insert it.
That's also weird.
It felt a little bit weird, but I was like, oh, maybe this is some type of form of consent situation. I don't know. And this was my first one. I had no clue. And I was asking my friends. I feel like someone had like the abdominal ultrasound, but not the actual like insert. Mm-hmm. Those results were, they said that I didn't have it. And then I start seeing a new doctor. Mm-hmm. She does it again, literally in and out 5 minutes. And then I was diagnosed. And I'm like, why was that girl in there for 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Moving it around.
Maybe she didn't know what she was doing. What?
She'd been doing it for so many. She was about to retire.
Oh my gosh.
We talked about retirement the whole time.
I hate that they would like make me push down on my ovaries. And I'm like, ow, this hurts
you
so
had to push
bad.
Down?
Uh-huh. Like use my hand to push down on an ovary to make it show better. Only on one of the times.
Okay.
Another time it was...
So that didn't happen to me either.
It was like National Birth Control Week or something like that. And I have an IUD, and they have like a really good ultrasound picture of my IUD up on the TV where they normally like show like new parent, like here's like what's inside your uterus right now. And I was like can I take a picture of that? Can I take a picture of this for socials? I work for Planned Parenthood, and this would make a really good social post. And then Tech was like, I'm going to turn my back, and technically you're not allowed to take a photo. And I'm like, okay.
Why is that?
Why can't I take a photo of my own body?
Yeah, seriously.
I was really upset at a colonoscopy, and I didn't get to see any of the video footage of it.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, why do you want to see that? And I was like, that means because somebody has seen my insides that I haven't. Like,
yeah,
I want to know what my insides look like. If a stranger knows my insides, I should know my insides.
Truly. I work in orthopedics, and so I've watched some gnarly procedures, and it doesn't faze me at all. After my surgery, I'm not going to go into details. I wanted to spare people because I think I talked about it with my sister on that episode. There was no suturing done, and so just like huge ass wounds. Mm-hmm. And that got me. But I think I don't know if it's because like there was also pain with it.
Yeah.
But I would also, if I had a colonoscopy, I would want to see.
Yeah. And then when I never even told my my endometriosis specialist about that. So spoiler alert, I had endometriosis surgery. I was going to get there, but I kind of took a sideline about how I want pictures. And I didn't tell my surgeon that I wanted the pictures, but like I was thinking it because I'm like, I've been having this mystery upper right pain. We've done every test possible for my gallbladder and liver, and everything kept coming back fine except for one liver test. So I was like, while you're in there, can you look up there? Like, I want to make sure that things look fine. Yeah. And since you're already cutting me open. And this guy got me so many good pictures. Like, he took pictures of everything. He's like, here's where the endometriosis was. Here's where I cut it. Here's now what it looks like now.
And wait, he did take it out?
Yeah, he took all the endometriosis out. He took so many pictures and printed them out. And like, I've never gotten better pictures, like even from CVS. Like, this was better printing quality. I'm like, what printer do you use? Seriously. But like, as a person,
I need that for my new camera.
Right? As a person who works in repro health for like almost 10 years, literally, I got to see what my uterus looks like with the fallopian tubes and the ovaries, and I'm like, this is so cute. Like. Look, it looks just like the picture drawings. But it's so much smaller than I thought it was.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, wait. For the listeners, can you explain what endometriosis is?
Yeah.
Because I'm not even sure if I fully understand it either.
Yeah. So endometriosis is when the cells of your like uterine lining grow outside of your uterus. So they grow in clumps outside of your reproductive system, or like on top of the ovaries or the fallopian tubes.
Is it creating scar tissue?
It can create scar tissue because it cramps just like your cells do inside your uterus to like remove the lining. Mm-hmm. And so that happens on the outside. So it can create a lot of scarring, and it's extremely painful because those cells just aren't in the spot that they're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. There's some more extreme cases. There's some more mild cases. Essentially, though, it's a painful thing to have. And unfortunately, there's no real cure for it. You can cut the cells out. You can go and have them removed like I did in surgery, but they can grow back.
I know. It's like you could be doing that again, and I don't know.
It's every person is different. And right now my pain is coming back, and I'm I had the surgery in August, and I'm like, is it really already
Is this
back?
something that you have for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
That's so interesting, because my mom has a mysterious pain. And she had, have you heard of a Whipple? I feel like Grey's Anatomy people know what that is, 'cause, like, they do it all the time. but they take out like a quarter of your pancreas.
Oh.
And like that was supposed to solve it. And like her doctor or her surgeon literally ghosted her. She was like, hey, that didn't work.
Oh my gosh.
After like 11 days in the hospital and torturous pain.
That's terrible.
But I'm just like wondering if maybe like
it could be.
Like even after menopause?
I'm not super familiar with that just because I haven't gone through menopause, but I know a lot of people who have extreme endometriosis generally opt in for a hysterectomy to take out all of those parts so those cells can no longer grow.
Oh.
So I'm assuming even through menopause you would have it if you still have your reproductive system.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'm going to have to talk to her about that because it's in the same spot that you're pointing.
Yeah. And where I have the pain up at is not a common place to have the pain for endometriosis.
Okay. Is it normally just like right here?
Yeah. It's normally like down and lower where you normally would have period cramps.
Yeah. I think the reason it gets like misdiagnosed all the time or not even paid attention to is because people just think we're being bitches.
Yeah, they just think like you don't know your period cramps. Like it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, this is bad.
Yeah. Speaking of, so I was talking to Jessica literally yesterday about how she needs to do a TikTok and go around and talk to people. Have you seen those TikToks where like it simulates cramps?
Yes.
And like men die.
Yeah.
And then women are like, well, let's go work out. Let's go do this.
Like, oh, I still have to go take care of the kids. And like
ma'am, this is a 10. She's like, yeah, it feels kind of bad.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah, not that bad.
Yeah.
I always tell people that I have a high pain tolerance and a low complaint tolerance. Because I know my body so well. Like you were saying, I know when one thing is out of a line and like, sure, it's not that big of a deal, but I'm going to tell you about it.
See, I feel like I had been, and I use the word had, been the opposite. I disassociated. I was diagnosed with PCOS. I'm like, oh, that makes more sense. And I'm like thinking about all these other things because I just ignored it all. I don't know. And like any feeling in my body, I would just disassociate from. I'm bad with pain.
Yeah.
So it's very low pain tolerance.
Understandable. And I think it's like one of those things, like how do you even like compare one person's pain tolerance to another, because pain is such a internalized feeling. That was the other thing going through this mystery pain is like I started questioning, am I even feeling pain? Am I making this all up? Because I've had doctors tell me I'm making it all up. I had a hospital stay more towards the beginning of when this pain all started. I was in the hospital for like 4 days and the surgeon came and was like, I don't really think you're that much in pain. I think you just need to lose weight and get over it. And
when doctors say stuff like this to you, because I've had a bad experience where someone said like a nasty ass comment and I cried in my car afterwards, but I didn't say anything. Like what's your response? Like I mean, it seems like it's happened multiple times.
Oh yeah.
Like, has it gotten better? Do you just ignore them?
I think I'm working on trying to advocate for my own body more and research and choose doctors that I know will listen to me, but you can't always count on that. So in that scenario, he prefaced it by saying like, I know no one wants to say this and you're not gonna like hearing this. And I could tell his assistant that was working with him like looked at him like slack-jawed, like, oh my God. And he walked out of the room and I just started bawling. And luckily my friend was with me, my mom was with me, the nurse that was taking care of me was with me. He also at that point, I hadn't had any pain meds. Like I had missed the last couple of doses in the hospital stay because he told the pharmacy and the nurses to stop giving me pain meds before ever telling me. And
oh my gosh,
so now every doctor's appointment, I bring that up and they're like, oh, is it this doctor? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, doesn't surprise me. I'm like, if it doesn't surprise you, then why does this guy have a job? And then I learned I have a really great doctor and she's like, have you talked to the patient advocate department about this? I'm like, no. So that was one of those, I wish I would have known that exists, that they're there to advocate for you and to do that.
I didn't know that existed either.
Yeah. And so then another scenario of when this happened was obviously I need to lose weight, but that wasn't the be all for my pain. Like I knew there was more to it than just weight related topics. So they want me to just at least talk to the weight loss people, check that off the box of things we tried. And they had me see the bariatric center. I met with the surgeon there and he's like, you know, you have mystery abdomen pain. I don't really feel great about giving you major abdominal surgery when you're having major abdominal pain and we don't know what it is. And I'm like, thank you. That's what I've been trying to tell everyone.
Yeah.
And so he sent me to the weight loss clinic, which what they are is not the weight loss surgery people, but the people who give you different medication for weight loss. The whole thing was quite triggering as a person who had like former unhealthy habits with food. And like them wanting you to like do calorie intake, daily food journals. And they only wanted me really drinking protein shakes, like the Fairlife protein shakes rather than like actual food. How does anyone with an eating disorder like come through here? They never asked if I had any eating disorders. Like, I'm like, that should be like one of the first questions if talking about relationships with food.
Right.
And so they had me try a couple different meds. The first one made me so manic anytime I took it. And I was traveling for work, and it was not a great situation. And then the second...
And did they like preface that this could happen?
No.
Because I feel like anytime someone's thrown like some serious medication at me, they're like, here you go. And they didn't ask me lifestyle questions. They didn't ask me anything. And then I'm like fucking up my whole life.
Yeah. And they didn't ask me like, oh, are you already on? Like, they knew my list of medication I was on, but they didn't like know what my mental health journey has been and why I'm on these medications and the impact. So yeah, I had no clue that any of this could happen. All I knew was it was supposed to take away your hunger cues. And then the second medicine they wanted me to try when I gave them back, that this does not work for me. And they're like, wow, never heard that reaction before. Really? Because when I talked to my normal doctor about this, she said, yeah, I can't believe they didn't tell you this. This is a common side effect.
Yeah, and they're the one prescribing it to how many people?
Yeah. And so then they wanted me to do Wellbutrin, and
that's the one that made me crazy.
Yeah. I was like, I've tried a lot of different mental health medications, and when I was on Wellbutrin the first time, anytime I was around flashing lights made me throw up instantly. And it was around Christmas time, so it was really terrible because everyone had Christmas lights out.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, Wellbutrin makes me really sick around flashing lights. And they're like, well, but how often are you around flashing lights? I'm like, enough that I don't want to be on it. And so I could tell she was
There's flashing lights literally everywhere.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, the sun going behind a cloud is a flashing light. Like,
yeah, you can be like, I frequently drive down here and there's one lamp that's always like this. It's like a rave. And I'm like, first of all, how have they not fixed that? Because I recognize it every time.
Yeah.
But I'm like a weirdo, and I'm like, oh, flashing lights mean it's like my friend that died, and it's like him saying hello. So I'm like, am I just recognize them all the time, or is it him? Like,
could be both.
That's
because you're looking for signs for him. So
I'm like, that's him. Hey,
good to see you. Could you maybe slow that blinking down a bit?
I'm like, let's fix that one. Let's just do other ones. Let's make this more random.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Can you try it differently so I know that you're there? But so this lady, she just got really frustrated with me, and she's like, you know what, I think rather you're just a better candidate for the surgery. And I'm like, well, surgeon said I'm not, so I guess I'm not seeing either of you guys ever again.
Completely fucked.
Yeah, some places I feel better advocating for myself, and some I'm still working on it.
Yeah, I think it's just wild because it's like when you're younger, and I know kids can get sick for sure, but like from my experience, it's like, I don't know, I just lived my life and I was fine, you know.
Yeah, mom just said suck it up.
Not even that, I just like wasn't I mean, I think when I was really little, I was a sick kid, but I don't remember any of that because of trauma. You know, it's like you just go to the doctor during a checkup. There's nothing overall health-wise that was really horrible. But like now, the older I get, dealing with PCOS and then this other, you know, like the surgery that I had, you know, you go in to see specialists, and then you know, go to the OBGYN, and no one talks. I think that's fucking wild.
That drove me nuts.
I'm like, why is there like not one center database? Because it's like one of the hospitals has their own, another hospital network has their own, and if you have any work done, or if it's like a past 10 years and they delete it, it's like, this is insane.
Yeah, well, it's so I was all within one healthcare system, one local hospital, and so they all used their version of the Epic software, which is the database for all your medical stuff. And yet no specialists talk to each other. No one ever read the files. And so it was like every specialist, I was starting over. I just recently requested my medical records from the beginning of 2023 to like last week.
No, that's good. Keep files of
And it was over 180 pages long.
And
so that's
there's
how
no
many
doctor reading
specialists I've
that.
seen. And no doctor. So we were asking every appointment we went to. We were like, because my mom would go with me, and I'd be like, is there not somebody that's job is to bring all the specialists in a room together? Because like that's what I needed. I needed them to talk to each other to help brainstorm what this is. I felt like I was just being shuffled from one specialist to the next. And so while my pain has come back in the last month, I was very upfront with my doctors, and I'm like, I am not ready to go down the specialist route again. I need some time off from that.
It's exhausting. I mean, you've seen way more doctors, but just dealing with like my surgery stuff, it was draining, emotionally draining. You go in, you kind of feel alone, you know, especially like if you're there by yourself. You don't have a partner. I had a partner at the time who, you know, we're not going to go there, but yeah, it's isolating and scary, and that alone on your mental health is horrible.
Yeah, and like having to like relive it all every time of like going through it all.
Yep.
I was lucky, that's not the right word, but I was, my mom.
Hashtag, I was so blessed.
I was so blessed that my mom had some hospital stays the year before. And I was helping navigate that system for her, which was a whole different issue of like, why was I doing it and not her partner? Hashtag men suck. And I'm just kidding. I love my dad. He just wasn't great those couple of weeks.
You know what? Two things could be true at once. You can love them, and he's still a guy.
Yeah, he very much is. And so it was, so going through all of her different specialists, it's weird how much more I could advocate for her and not myself. And so we kind of became each other's advocate buddies. Of she would advocate for me and I'd advocate for her. Good. And so that was good. But she also worked full time, so she couldn't go to all those appointments.
Yeah.
And I already had such medical anxiety just from like, again, life. And you said, like, as a kid growing up, like, you didn't have very many experiences of this. But, like, my fat shaming in medical sense, even as a kid, I've always had really bad acid reflux since I was born. And I remember I had a test done when I was in first grade where you drink the barium and then they take x-rays of how the barium moves through your system. And the only points I can remember from that, the doctor told me, there's nothing we can do and you're going to have esophagus cancer by the time you're 80. So I've just always have thought of that, like, since I was a first grader. So that's why I hate going to doctors, because they told me I'm going to have cancer and there's nothing I can do about it. And what I've told doctors now, they're like,
what tells that to a first grader?
Right? Like, and then I remember they must have taken me to like a nutritionist study or something, because my mom, when talking to my mom about it, she said that after that appointment, they then brought them in to a nutritionist and they thought they were going to like give us food suggestions to like make the acid reflux worse. And I remember them asking me, do you like applesauce? And I said, yeah, I love applesauce. And they're like, do you think you would eat a whole plate of applesauce? And I'm like, yeah, I love applesauce. And then they fat shamed me as a first grader and told my mom how horrible of a mother she is because I was overweight. And my mom got up and walked out of that appointment. Like with me, not to leave me, but like,
bye girl.
Yeah. So
you're on your own with that.
So my two oldest medical memories are being told I'm going to have esophagus cancer, and then I'm fat because I like applesauce.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, you wonder where my medical trauma's from. Here you go. Or I've had doctors tell me, like in high school, I'd come in about my period cramps being too bad, and my doctor would be like, "You're making this up so you can get out of school."
That is so fucked up. Do you have PCOS too? I don't.
I
know sometimes endometriosis and PCOS.
Oh yeah,
go
they are.
hand.
Yeah, they're tied. They have seen evidence of like one cyst, but they weren't 100% sure if it was a cyst that had just exploded or if it was a follicle, because I was going through oh my gosh, what's the phase where like your eggs are about to drop?
Oh,
fertile window. I forget.
Follicular.
I
know that's one of the phases. I don't know. I haven't memorized. I was like, that's probably like one of my next things that I want to like hyperfixate on.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I have some resources for you. But yeah, so they weren't sure if it was that just my egg was about to drop or if it was a cyst that had exploded.
Okay.
As of right now, that is not one of my diagnosis.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because women's bodies in general are just so understudied and
Oh,
underfunded.
100%.
And I'm sure you could probably talk to that way better than I can. Metabolically, like the way PCOS, affects your body. And I don't know much about endometriosis, but anything related to that type of stuff in your body, like the hormones specifically, it just fucks you so hard. And it doesn't even matter. Like you could be like eating so healthy, you can be working out, and then you still can struggle to lose weight.
Yep.
And then on top of all of that, I mean, you were talking about like your eating habits and stuff. So like I think mental health goes into that too. I had never thought that I had an issue with eating, which I guess I don't really know like what the definition of an eating disorder is, but there was a point in time like where I was really obsessive, and I heard that like the way that I would describe like what I was going through, it was like a form of control. So at night when everything's quiet, I'm done with work, I'm done with this, I'm done with that, and I had time to just like sit in it with myself, all my thoughts and feelings and everything. I would just start like I wouldn't even know if I would call it binge eating, but I just like couldn't stop sometimes.
Yeah.
Was pure, like it wasn't anything other than my emotions and the need to control them.
Yeah, very much so.
So it's like holistically, I think it's not just like, oh, you would eat a whole plate of applesauce, which I think applesauce is applesauce. It's like,
yeah. Also, you're a kid asking a kid, do you like applesauce? Like,
yeah, I was fucking eating a whole pack of Gushers after school and then looking for the next box.
Yeah.
Because I had no rules. I'm like, of course I'm going to fucking eat that.
Yeah. You're a kid. You just ask, like, do you like this very sugary after school snack?
100%.
Yes.
And then I'm going to go eat a Snickers bar.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so much that goes into how your body is made up and how it works. And then you add on like my GERD problems, the IBS, the IBD, and it's just a whole host of issues. And then your family history. All my family is fat on both sides. Like, this isn't just a Jessica, you need to go lose weight. And I was very frustrated going through this journey for the last 2 years and being in so much pain. I'm like, the way I would describe it to people is I'm in so much pain. I cannot walk all of Target before I'm in excruciating need to go lay down amount of pain.
Yeah.
So how are you expecting me to work out?
Right.
And lose
Exactly.
This weight? Like,
100%.
How?
And not to mention, like, if you're in pain, just your coping mechanisms. Like, you could be addicted to, like, opioids, which I know, like, there's restrictions on that. The whole slew and gamut of it, and just, I mean, or over drinking. I'm not saying, like, this was your experience, but anyone could have that happen to them.
Totally.
To cope with it.
Yeah. And so I was going through the pain. So there's a pain clinic. That's part of Parkview, and that's who managed my pain. And it was so confusing because they didn't care about solving the issue. They were just there to medicate the pain.
Don't even get me started on this.
And so it's part of the, like, again, why aren't we all in a room talking together?
Yeah. If a doctor's just like willing to like hear you out, I just have noticed it's like they're not really looking holistically, but it's like because at this point we have to do our own research and become specialists on our own, and they'd be like, hey, I think it might be this, and they're like, okay, let's explore that. At this point I'm like, I'll take that.
Yeah, well, and that's
it's
like,
fucked up, but I'll take it.
I do have some great doctors. When all this pain started, it was my periods are started to be irregular, started to get worse cramping again, was going through a very stressful time. At that point in time, Indiana had special session was banning abortion. At the same time, my mom was in a hospital stay for 14 days. And then I broke up with my entire friend group. And so I think this was like stress-induced pain, or like my body was already feeling this pain, and then the stressors were over, and so it just relaxed.
Your nervous system was completely fucked.
Yeah, and I switched jobs, so it was like a bunch of things all the time. And I had mentioned, I'm like, I really think this might be endometriosis. And they're like, but where the pain is at is just not really where, because it was like my left ovary and my upper right abdomen. They're like, I just don't think that's endometriosis. Spoiler alert, 2 years later, it was endometriosis.
Yeah, that's the fucked up part. I'm trying to think. I think I was misdiagnosed for like 4 years.
Yeah, it's crazy how much of your own research.
And they did tell me that I should like lose weight too. That was one of their suggestions. I'm like, I'm literally trying, and I absolutely can't.
Yeah, of course. Like you said about like doing your own research, they sent me to the Cleveland Clinic because it's like the local expert of everything hospital. Yeah. And they're like, I'm like, okay, but who am I going? Because like we don't know what system is failing.
Like
and
what type of specialist?
So when I call like their appointment making line, they're like, I guess we can set you up with the liver doctor first. And I'm like, okay. Like at this time I'm desperate. So like they were able to get me a next day appointment. So I like pack up the house and like I'm found a last minute hotel in Cleveland, and they do this test that is a liver density test, and it is like an echo ultrasound of where they have an ultrasound machine that then like does these loud clicks, and it's listening for how long does it take for it to hear its own echo. And that's supposed to determine like how dense your liver is.
Interesting.
And the result came back, and I got them on my chart, and I'm like reading them, and I'm like, this says I'm in level 4 liver ketosis. And like I'm so shocked that no one has called me about it, because when I Google that, I'm like, level 4 sounds bad. Let me Google this.
Is it out of 5?
No, it's out of 4. It's fuck. Basically level
I'm
4.
dying.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because level 4 is like what extreme lifelong alcoholics like livers are like. Their liver is completely hard and is not functioning anymore. I'm like, what? Like, I mean,
so what happened?
No one called me. I called them. And I was like, I got these results, and they're like, yeah, let me read over them. Yep, it says you have level 4 ketosis. So if you have any questions for the doctor, let me know. And I'm like, yeah, am I dying? Like, so I'm doing all this research about this test, and to come to find out, guess what? This test doesn't work on fat people. It gives false results.
Shut the fuck up.
They never told me that. I had to research it, and I found it on the company who created this test. It's frequently asked questions website.
So what did you do? Like, are you like, is your liver okay?
Yeah, all my other tests are fine. That my liver is fine. I have a bit of a fatty liver.
I think I might have that.
Maybe or maybe not me dying from a hard liver, but all my other test blood work and stuff's fine.
We'll find out.
Yeah. Well, when I'm 80, it might be liver cancer.
Which one's gonna get you first?
Yeah, exactly.
Your esophagus.
So at this point, when someone's like, "Oh, but that's full of carcinogens," and I'm like, "What's not full of carcinogens at this point?"
Oh my gosh, that's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. Now you know I'm on so many antidepressants.
Truly. And this goes back to like, we're all in our own fucking heads. It's like I've been like bitching and complaining about my shit, and it's like literally minuscule compared to like what you've been through.
It's at this point all I can do is laugh about it, and I'm tired of complaining. I feel like it's all I talk about is my pain.
Sometimes it feels so good.
I know. Well, I'm like, my life is so boring. All that's new is like, guess what? My pain is back today.
The good old endometriosis.
Yeah. They're like, someone's like, well, can it grow back that fast? And I'm like, no one knows.
I have questions, but I did want to just say really quick, I do want to do like an episode on maybe my surgery stuff, because I think some of it can be helpful, because I literally wanted to die.
Yeah.
And not because like of the actual, I thought it was because of the pain, but it was just the support I wasn't getting mental health wise. I just remember I felt like I had to just like complain about it. I'm like, because I was in pain, I was like, I'm just going to start bitching about it as much as I can and not feel bad about it. And that was like when I started going to therapy and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And also what you had is painful. I've seen other people go through that. Like, it is very painful.
I mean, and it was just like really long. When you get sutures, it's just so much easier to heal. And and I've never, like, this was my first surgery, so I don't know the difference. But and like I'm packing it, and I'm not going to go into it, even though I keep saying I'm not going to, and then I keep telling more information about it.
Eventually someone's going to like pick all the pieces together.
I should just do one clip.
Yeah.
So they took the chunk out. Here's more information. And there's 2 spots, more information. And it's still sensitive. And so, you know, like I think vitamin E helps with scarring. And so I've been wanting to do that because it's a huge ass scar. And not that like, even like in a bikini line, I don't think it would really show that much. I don't know. It's like, eventually I would like someone to see me naked, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think anyone that has seen me naked will hopefully think my body is beautiful no matter what it looks like, even with these scars.
I would hope so. If they don't, they shouldn't be seeing you naked.
Exactly. I don't know. It's just like a big reminder and everything. And so I've been doing like vitamin E oil, and I don't know what's going on. This is like going back to my woo-woo stuff, but sometimes it just gets sensitive. And sometimes I'm like, oh, does that mean I'm having like a rough, like emotional days? I'm like, is it linked to my emotions? Like, that's where I'm at
Maybe.
right now. Like, literally yesterday, I was like, oh, it's kind of hurting. I was like, oh, I think I need to cry today.
I love that.
And then I literally did.
love that.
I had like an emotional breakdown. Not for no reason, but not for anything that happened.
If I was your therapist, I'd be like, I think that whatever brings you closer to letting you feel your own emotions, then it's okay.
You have no idea. Madison is just like, she's like, oh, it sounds like you are really intuitive. Like, she just validates the fuck out of me. I'm like, I know this is a safe place, but this is going to sound really woo-woo. I'm like, let me tell you what happened.
I love it. I do the same at my doctor's, but I'm a bit different. I'm like, I know that I'm not a doctor, but I'm convinced X, Y, and Z is why I'm not constipated right now. And they're like,
Is it like,
it doesn't really work that way.
is it like where the moon's at? Or?
Well, it was more that my left ovary was attached to my colon, and so I was convinced that was like when they undid it that fixed the problem.
Oh.
And my doctor's like, that's not really how it works, and I was like, works for me. Too bad it's all back. I'm like, well, colon must be reattached to the ovary again. Yeah, I'm like, hey, I know I have like no insurance because I'm like unemployed right now, but do you guys mind redoing that surgery? I just want to see it.
Literally like $100,000 later.
Yeah.
When I saw that bill, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I'm very lucky that insurance covered most of it.
With the endometriosis, you said that some people get their uterus taken out. You do not have kids, and I know you want kids.
Yes.
So I did write it. No, I'm not looking at it, but I've memorized my notes. Just kidding.
Oh, wow, you're so professional.
I'm literally kidding. When I first like had that deep dive trauma dump with you, you had mentioned that at one point you wanted to explore having a kid on your own. And at the time, you weren't dating. I feel like I haven't had quite an update or a status report.
Yeah.
Where are you at with all of that?
Yeah, I still very much still want to have kids, and I still am open to having them on my own. All of the stuff happening politically around IVF and if like that'll still be possible is a big question mark, along with the cost around it.
I didn't even think about that part.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm open to having kids with a partner. I just haven't found a partner that I like, so
Yeah.
keeping
Wait,
it
because
open.
how old are you again? 30?
I'm 34.
4, okay.
Not that I'm old, but like I'm on. This would be considered a geriatric pregnancy if I got pregnant today.
Yeah. Wait, is 32 geriatric?
I have no idea where the line is,
Okay.
so I could be wrong. Maybe that I'm not geriatric.
I'm
but I
going to
think
Google
it is.
this. It's going to look like I'm ignoring you.
No, it's
but I
okay.
promise
You
I'm
Google
listening.
while I talk. And so I still very much want to do that. And so when I was...
So getting your uterus taken out is not an option.
It's not what I wanted to do right now. And I wasn't prepared for that to be any other option. Like
35.
Oh, 35. Okay.
So if you
I
popped one out right now.
Right now, I'd be okay.
You're good.
Until July. So I don't think I can pop one out between now and July.
Well, let's
it's not
hope
really
not.
how babies work.
I mean, it'd be really little.
Yeah. I mean, not healthy. So I had like a pre-surgery appointment with my surgeon, and he was like, and so we're taking out your fallopian tubes while we're in there, right? And I was like, no. Like, I was so not prepped for that conversation because like I'm a person who has to take notes before going into the doctor because I get nervous and forget what I'm going to talk about.
I'm learning this. I'm like, your mind goes black. It's like, oh, you have to have surgery. It's like, what the? Nothing.
Yeah. I asked ChatGPT to help me for my last doctor's appointment.
Oh, that's good.
But beforehand, I was like, by the way, if I give you all this medical info, I know this sounds crazy, but will this be against me, like with everything that Elon's doing and with like insurance? Like, are you going to tell my insurance company and they won't insure me? And ChatGPT is like, we are not part of Elon's like crazy take over the world fake world. It was so sassy back to Elon. And I'm like, I still don't trust you, ChatGPT, but like, thanks for helping me make a list.
But here's everything that's wrong with me.
Yeah. They're like, if you want, you can be vague. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Not my personality type.
That's not who I am. Let me give you my whole medical history.
I'm for sure oversharing here.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so I was not prepared for that question at the doctor's office, and it really took me by surprise. And I started crying in the car about it. I think because I just don't want to miss out on that part of life, but I'm getting to that stage where I have to make decisions for that part of my life to happen. Talking to family about it, they're like, you've gone through so much pain right now trying to figure out like what's wrong with your body. Do you really like want to go through that again? Because I'm like, could I handle being off my antidepressants for that long? People are pushing the adoption route on me, And then, but adoption in Indiana is so fucked up and based around religion a lot here.
I didn't even know that. I've searched or researched some of it.
Yeah, and I haven't deep dived into it. So this is like just what I know surface level. But like most of the programs that you like go through are church-based programs, and I'm not religious. I don't know if you have to have home stay investigations, and like would they approve somebody who's just a single person with no partner?
According to their website, they do. I wouldn't be able to because I have a 1-bedroom, but you live in a house.
Yeah, I have a 3-bedroom house.
Is one your craft room?
Okay, one's my office and one's the home room I'm letting my parents stay in. Okay. But
yeah, so I mean,
I can kick them out.
You could figure it out. Yeah. So like you have the capacity. So technically, but I think it probably is more frowned upon, or
yeah, and it's just and it's like also an expensive process. It just sucks that like anybody can just like go have unprotected sex and maybe get pregnant and. But then if like you want to get pregnant through a non-traditional route, it costs so much money.
I think similar to you, like you don't want to miss out on that experience. For the longest time, I didn't actually think I wanted to physically birth a child. And that was like when I was really young. I feel like I was kind of going against the grain here in Indiana.
Yeah, definitely. What? You didn't want to like get married right out of high school and have as many kids as possible?
I was like, literally, that's my worst nightmare. Probably also because the type of guys I was dating at the time.
Yeah.
Still struggle with that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's still Indiana.
But the older I get and the more, because I don't know, I feel like we just didn't have as much information about the woman's body, or maybe I just didn't realize how beautiful it is. I'm just like, well, I think I would be open to that. You know, I don't know that I would want to deny myself of that beautiful experience, like if I can.
It's kind of like, I don't want to write it off until I have to write it off kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I just like hate that people talk about it being like a geriatric pregnancy and people get pregnant until they're in their 40s.
Yeah, I know that. And people know that. And so it's like, let's just work on language a bit better.
I know. I remember I was young 20s. And this was probably just projection on his behalf, but like one of my older like guy friends who I think liked me, but he was in a relationship. He had accidentally gotten pregnant like with his girlfriend at the time, and I think he decided to marry her. So I don't know if like he was already married at this point or what, but maybe questioning his life choices, who knows. I was just saying how I'm like in no rush, you know, I'm not in a rush to date anyone or this or that or settle down, whatever. And he was like giving me shit about waiting to have a kid, basically saying that I'm putting the child at risk.
Yeah.
And I was like probably like 24.
I know. Some people are like, I'd be like, are you a doctor, sir? Like,
yeah, I'm like, I'm a child.
Yeah.
Like, that would be a teen pregnancy at this point.
I know. Like when I think about like how old my parents were by the time they had like me and my sister, and I'm like, dude, let's see, mom would have been 25, 26 when she had both of us at that point in time. And I'm just like, I could not imagine having 2 kids when I was 26.
I couldn't imagine having 2 kids right now.
Yeah, me either. And then I look at like my younger cousins and I have like 5 kids and I'm like,
yeah,
what?
I don't know. Part of me, because I love kids and I used to work at a daycare and all of this stuff. So I do have like a nurturing side to me. So like part of me does long for that, but the many other parts is like, well, that could wait.
Yeah. I don't know. Right now, I feel very much I want a kid right now. Finance and job say no.
Yeah.
You need to wait.
So once you figure that piece out,
I'm willing to start researching it a bit more. Originally, like when I determined that I was wanting to get pregnant without a partner, I thought my only option was through like fertility clinics. I have found through some research and through TikTok, like there's a whole group of women who are getting pregnant without partners and have their own how-to doc and support groups of that there's ways outside of IVF.
You just like go out to the club.
Yeah, you can go find someone. You're like, can I have your sperm and put it in a turkey baster?
You're coming home with me.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, but
or like a guy friend or something.
Yeah, I don't. But the problem is that right now I'm like, I don't know if I want any of you guys to be the father of my child.
No,
no, I'm like, no, thank you. I just want an anonymous person. Can't we be worms? Like, I just produced my own baby without a guy involved. Like,
Oh gosh, I hope at some point we're able to do that.
yeah.
Survival of the fittest, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm going to start doing more research. I had to put pause on it because I was getting too hyperfixated on it, because that's just my personality.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'll be in a safer spot and be able to research that a bit more.
And then I know that you weren't at that time, like it was like a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, dating. What's the status of that?
Still not really wanting to date.
Relatable.
Yeah, I think it's like I've been exploring my sexuality in a way of like, I definitely know that I'm queer, but now I'm starting to wonder if I'm more like asexual and just don't really enjoy that kind of vibes with people. But I don't know if it's, do I not like those vibes just because I haven't been around those vibes enough to determine, do I like those vibes? But right now, it's too hard to have to deal with another person. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even like responding to my friends' text. I can't imagine having to respond to social media texts.
Yeah. So I guess just quick question, and then I want to go back to the exploring your sexuality. Is it like, let's say someone that you find attractive reaches out. Are you saying like, no, I'm not interested?
Oh, no,
I
would go on a date at that point.
Okay.
I think it's a lot of having to try and find a person to date. Is
Not
like,
putting energy.
Yeah,
into
I
it.
just don't want to put energy into that because it's just too exhausting. Like, I've worked in a very polarizing field for a long time. Fort Wayne isn't always friendly to that. And the dating pool is so small in town. And I have past date blindness where I can't remember what guys I went on dates with.
I swear I have this too. And then sometimes if I recognize someone out in public, I'm like, do I know you from high school? Do I know you from college? Do I know you because I went on a date with you? Have I kissed you?
Yeah.
Did we hook up?
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. So we were somewhere and this guy was like running the trivia and I'm like, I think that's the guy I hooked up with, but I don't remember.
It's so bad.
I had to ask my friend. She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
That's so funny.
I know.
And then I'm like trying to remember their names. And I'm like going through my phone. I'm like, oh, it's not that guy.
And I never saved
I
never save their numbers on my phone. Like, it's just random numbers.
I used to, and so I would like put like Tinder afterwards or Hinge after their name. And then if I didn't go on like 2 dates with someone, I wouldn't save it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it gets kind of tricky when people like reach back out. It's like, oh, new phone, who dis?
Yep.
So, but no, I feel like I'm in the exact same place where I think I would probably go on a date if someone reached out, but I'm not actively texting anyone. I'm not on the dating apps, and it just frees up so much energy.
Yeah. It's like,
It feels so good. I'm like, oh,
I don't know
I'm free.
how people who are on the apps all the time, like how you have the emotional capacity. I don't know if it's because I'm too much of an emotional person or I'm just neurotic, but like every swipe, I put too much energy into it of like imagining the future with that person. Like, what would we talk about? What would we do? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, this is taking up too much time when I like sit next to my guy friend while he's literally swiping right on everybody. And then you're like, well, fuck this.
I know. I think it's like a whole mindset because I think once I start to have a crush on someone, that's when I get into we're getting married and having kids. And I'm not even sure if I want to get married, but at this point I am to that person. I've had different feelings about it at different points in my life, but the most recent, when I was on them, I just kind of was like using it as a joke.
Yeah.
Like I would just like when I was in a silly goofy mood, that's when I would respond the most, and I would just make fun of them. And I don't know, I went on a date with someone from it. It's like,
Okay.
It's like we had good banter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, drunk Jessica didn't mind being on socials.
that's dangerous,
especially when I'm traveling. But then I never actually went and like met up with anyone. But I would just be on there like chatting to people.
Yeah,
and then I'd fall asleep. And
yeah, it's so bad. I also think like you have to smell people, like pheromones.
So it's more of your woo woo stuff for.
No, that's science. That's not woo woo. It's like
it is real. Yeah.
Because it's the same reason why like you think like your siblings smell disgusting, so like you don't want to sleep with your siblings.
All right, I'll tell that to Katie. That's why I think their gem stuff stinks.
My sister used to literally come into my room and be like, "It smells disgusting in here." I lived with my sister's Jessica as well, for the listeners. I lived with her during COVID, and we were in a small apartment, but it worked before because I was always gone and she was always home, so we never saw each other. And then we're literally there 24/7, and I'm working from home. I'm sitting at my desk. She comes in. I'm on a call, okay, on camera. She comes into my room, and because apparently my stench was coming out into the living room and it was bothering her, giving her a headache or something, and she starts spraying like Lysol or something in my room, and I'm like, she's like in the background, I'm like, and then you just want to start screaming because they're your sister, and that's a normal reaction, not an adult reaction.
Yeah.
And lose your effing mind, and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. Now that's when I moved into this apartment.
I never could live with my sister again.
So you did too?
I shared a room with her all growing up.
When you
And
you lived with her when you were a child?
yeah, we shared a room, and so we're 2 years apart.
That is my worst nightmare.
And we're in a small town of less than 300 people, so all your friends were friends with.
Wait, and you're the oldest sister?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My sister thinks she's the older sister, so she's pretty bossy. She's also a Virgo, so like.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so anytime I'm like with her for more than 2 nights in a row, we start butting heads. Yeah. We have a really great relationship if like we're like 100 miles apart from each other. That sounds bad, but
I know. Sometimes I'm like, we've been hanging out a little bit too much. I'm getting really annoyed.
Yeah.
We need some space.
Yeah, but I could never go back to living with her.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say because my parents moved in with me and it has been a journey. And I would have said I could never live back with my parents again. And somehow I am, but
yeah,
makes me want to pull my hair out sometimes.
I could never. There's reasons for that.
Yeah, totally get it.
I mean, like if I really had to, I could, but I would probably cry every day.
I just keep telling myself they're living with me and it's not me living with them.
Yeah, it's your house.
It is my house.
And you can set expectations, maybe.
I can say that I am, not that they're followed. They really hate when I say this is my house, and they're like, well, who's helping you pay the bills? And I'm like, well, whose bills would you be paying if you weren't here?
Yeah, well, you're a roommate.
Yeah.
You know.
I like to say I'm their landlord. They didn't like that one.
I can imagine.
Or I say they're my wards when I have to take care of them. I'm like, do I get a tax break yet? Can I say that you guys are my dependents? And my mom's like, I think our bank account stayed the other way around.
Oh my gosh. That is so funny. Okay, can we go back to the exploring your sexuality?
Yeah.
You said that you're not sure if you might be asexual.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain like how you, obviously it's not a conclusion because you said you're not sure, but
yeah.
Can you tell me like why you're thinking this now?
Yeah, totally. So I very much subscribe to the notion that sexuality is a multi-layered spectrum.
Yeah.
And that like labels are all individual to a person. They don't mean one thing to another person. So for me, when I say asexual, is I'm not sure at this point in time if I enjoy the physical part of relationships with another person. So that's where I'm like leaning towards asexual of like.
Can I ask you a really personal question? I can cut it out if you don't feel comfortable. Have you slept with both boys and girls?
No.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why it's like I'm not 100% certain because I haven't tried many different things to see if that's what I like or don't like. Right. But I'm like keeping it open to the possibility.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to give too many details away on the podcast. I would say like same but different a little bit. I don't think I'm asexual by any means, but I am really exploring healing not healing my body per se, but in a sense, releasing the feelings of the trauma that I have received from men, specifically around like sex. I just don't really feel safe, and part of it is definitely with the trauma that I had. I was doing things way too early. So part of it is like doing it to myself in a sense because of just where I was at in life. But
was it yourself or was it like the patriarchy with expectations?
I think it's all of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't have good examples growing up. I think I really only felt worthy by giving men sex. And that actually was something I just admitted to myself very recently. So, any of my friends that know me super well for a long time, because like you kind of started being my friend like once I was going through this therapy journey, so it's a little bit different, and I was in a relationship, but I was always like super hypersexual, which I love a good "that's what she said" joke, but I was like the horniest of all my friends, and I'm really realizing that I think that was just all a trauma response. So like I'm really like trying to like meditate and like apologize to like my wound, is like how I say it, the woo-woo-ness.
Yeah.
And just kind of like work with that energy. It's just so sad that because masculinity is so like I am attracted to it. Mm-hmm. The fact that like my body is like repulsed when presented with it.
Yeah.
That's kind of like where I'm at with all of it. And so it's been a journey.
I think that's totally valid. I have struggled trusting any men. For similar reasons. I deal with everyday shitty men, and I think every woman deals with that every day.
Yeah.
And
I just went to the gym and that happened, and I rolled my eyes and was like, "Are you kidding me? Get me out of here!"
And so it's hard to believe that even well-intentioned men actually have good intentions, because those are the people that have hurt me or hurt my friends, and so it's like, it's hard to trust any of them.
Yeah, and I'm trying really hard not to speak in like definitives of like all men suck or I hate all men, because
not all men. # not all men.
I know. And then it's like, that's the energy you're putting into the world.
Yeah.
But I can tell you with complete certainty that like I don't think I felt actually safe with any single partner I've ever had.
Which is sad.
Like in my body.
Yeah.
That's really sad. Yeah.
But and you're not alone. That's how a lot of people have felt.
Yeah. Yeah. And like even some guy friends, this makes me sad too. It's sometimes I question, like, are you only my friend for the possibility of hooking up with me? And that's really sad. Like, how can you have an emotional connection with someone? And so then it's like, okay, so I get to go along with my life and only have emotional connections with women. Is that where we're at right now?
Yeah. I totally understand that. And I don't have an answer. And again, I hate going back to like the weight thing, but like all of my life, all of my crushes that I'm into or the guy friends that I have are around me because they're always into my best friend. Always. Without fail. Mm-hmm. It does a lot to your self-confidence.
Yeah.
It just sucks. And then it's the person that sexually abused me was supposed to be one of my best friends. Like, so it's like, you can't even trust, like.
Yeah.
You just can't. I just have a hard time trusting men right now.
Yeah.
And it sucks. But it's like, so we were joking about reading books the other day because our friend had a bunch of books by a certain author. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't like him because he's a guy. I hate how he writes female characters. And I just realized, I like looked back on my like list of books I've read because I'm a pretty prolific reader. And I just don't read books by men.
Yeah. I know. And I was telling you, like, I think I really don't either, but not intentionally.
Yeah.
The topics.
Yep.
I hear you so much. And I was talking to my therapist kind of around this. And I think I maybe brought it up on one of the other episodes. I'm not going to go into full detail explaining it. But I hyperfixate on things and then I spiral. Mm-hmm. And I was just like so distraught because I was reading a book that had domestic violence in it. And I'm like, do men just want to destroy us? Like, do they actually hate us? And I think some do. Mm-hmm. But what like, I feel like my mind was kind of blown, and I've been really kind of deep diving this within myself. I have a father wound, and a lot of men are walking around with a mother wound, and so then they hate us for it, all women. And just like I have been a man hater. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really trying to heal that piece of me, but they make it so fucking hard.
They make it so hard. And it's like, especially with the political climate right now, I just want to like shout from the rooftops so that like what you're doing is so hurtful and dumb. And it's like, I look to my dad, who I have a great relationship with my father. I'm really lucky about that. And but like here, my dad, who's supposed to love me the most out of any other male person in my life, like is still like voting for a party that's like taking away my rights and like celebrating abusing women. If this is what the person who's supposed to love me the most is like, it makes it hard to want to trust anyone else. But I understand what you're saying. Like, you want to put those positive intentions and vibes out into the universe and not just only focus on the negative, but they do make it so hard to not focus on the negative.
I love that you have like a good relationship with your dad. That's not the case for me. And there's like a lot of trauma around it. There's abandonment and then coming back into my life, and it's a whole fucking mess. And I'm trying to work on it, but it's like I have to grieve who he is, and then I have to grieve the child in me, like, you know, my inner child. I don't even think I can work on my relationship with like other guys until I figure that piece out. And so it's really fucking hard.
It is hard.
How did we even get here?
I don't know.
I did feel like I was about to cry a second ago. So you were saying that is it your friends, all of your male friends in your life, or all of the guys you've ever liked have ended up liking? Are you serious?
Both. Except for like Tinder dates. Like those don't count. But yeah, anybody that I've had a serious crush on or a serious relationship with, both as a friend or like are we friends, are we more than friends vibes, all of them have liked my best friend that I've had at the time. And it's not always the same best friend.
And is it like them telling you this, or
yeah, it generally comes up in conversation.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's so hard.
Yeah. It like really for a while really was hard for my mental health to work through that.
Yeah.
And I have now for the most part. So that's why when we've had a friend recently where I was like, I think I might kind of have a little crush on him. I don't know them that well to have a crush on them. And then to like watch him hitting on my best friend. I'm like, oop, that's cleared up.
Yeah, you're like, and fuck you.
Yeah. Like, you didn't even know, but it's okay. I'm done now.
Yeah, but also it's like having a crush is just like a lack of information.
Yeah, that's so true. But it was kind of fun. Like, I realized, like, in this phase of my life is the longest I've gone without having a crush. And I'm the type of girl who always had crush, whether it was a celebrity or a real person.
This is one of my questions. I'm like, do you have a crush right now? Like,
yeah.
In real life, fictional, or a celeb?
I don't right now. And so it's like I feel like a fish out of water.
Yeah, I cannot say the same.
Like, I was the girl who, so I shared a room with my sister, as I said, and we wouldn't allow each other to put posters up on our wall. Like, we each had one poster. She had one of Michael Jordan, and I had one of Winnie the Pooh, which I think that says a lot about us.
Can I go through like what I had on my walls?
Yes.
So above my head, I had Britney Spears. And then on like, I had the type of closet like where like they kind of fold apart, like not a walk-in. And I had Little Bow Wow, Little Romeo, Eminem, 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, and then I feel like a couple others. I'm like trying to like picture it, but I can't. And if that tells you anything about me.
Yeah. Well, so since we couldn't have posters on the wall, I had a poster binder, which I still have.
Oh my God, I love this so much.
I'll have to show it to you.
I was like, can you bring it to like the next girl hangout?
Yes, I totally can. Because like, it's one of those things where I pull out and I'm like, this is kind of embarrassing, but it's such a treasure trove. I'm like,
no,
I could never get rid of it.
Yes.
Because I think I've made it starting like my, like maybe 7th or 8th grade. So I've had it like for a long time.
Yeah.
And so now I have like a overstuffed 3-ring binder of like all my celebrity crushes I had throughout the year, because that's who I was. I was the girl. I always had a crush on someone, both in real life and not, and I was obsessive about it.
Yeah, I'm still obsessive about my crushes. Just, I feel like it's actually a mental disorder at this point. Quite concerning. But mine was more, I don't know. I obsess about everything.
Yeah, I guess me too. I
hyperfixate.
Yeah, I'm 100% or 0%, and there's no in between.
Yeah, and so that's something that I'm like really, 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 really trying to work on, because it's like I have like a current crush on like in real life, and I know like 0% about them basically. Is it
your gym crush that you're trying to find the right outfits to wear?
No, that was just more of like a joke.
Oh, okay.
I think he's hot as fuck. He's really hot, but I that is someone I know like less than 0% about. But yeah, so and it's like, oh, like I start like picturing like, you know, not exactly planning our wedding, but it's not good.
Totally.
And so, because I think where it becomes really bad is, let's say you have a crush on someone, and then let's say by who the fuck knows, because this never happens to me besides like one time, they like you back.
Oh my gosh, goals.
And then you start dating. that becomes weird because it's like, you're not perfect like you were in my head.
Yeah. So, like, oh wait, there's a lot that is and
then I ignore red flags, and that's how I become in all these relationships that suck, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Fair point. It's kind of like I was like, when I was first meeting you, I'm like, would it be weird to listen to all of her podcasts? Like, because it's like I would know more about her than she would know about me at that stage. But I also want to be a supportive friend. You know,
that's a good point. I had to tell people that I started dating that they're not allowed to listen because I had. Not that we're gonna start dating, but friendship too. You know? Because it did create like this weird dynamic. I was like before the last person that I was like actually in a relationship with, I was just dating this guy, and he had been listening to the podcast, and then he came on the podcast, and then we started seeing each other after, and he just like liked me, like the level of commitment was just like he was way further ahead because he listened to me for 2 hours every single week, whereas like we were just texting, we wouldn't even have phone calls, so like I really didn't know, you know, I only knew as much as he had told me over the course of 5 dates. So yeah, I was like, oh, this is gonna be just like a new rule that people can't listen too much. I don't know, it's hard because like I do want people to support,
because you like want the support, and you want like the people in your life to like be interested in the art that you're making, but then at the same time like you do understand that there's a really weird relational aspect to it, of not that like you're embarrassed about what you're talking about and don't want your friends to hear. Well,
sometimes.
Maybe depends on the episode.
I was like, maybe don't go and listen to that one where I talked about like double penetration. Let's keep that off the table.
That one's not ready for you. Like, we didn't have to like just make like a special playlist. Like, this is my friends playlist. These are the only episodes you're allowed to listen to. Relationship playlist. These are the only episodes you're allowed to playlist.
Go ahead, listen. And but the part is, it's like I don't know if everyone feels this way or if it's just like the Gemini in me, but I feel like I change my mind every single day.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't really go back and listen at all. And so I get nervous. I'm like, what the fuck have I been saying for the last 2 years? Like, I know I'm a good person, but like, what? It's probably quite concerning.
Yeah. No, I get that.
So yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm actually trying to have like more boundaries around that though, like oversharing on the pod too. Like,
that would be hard for me if I had a podcast. Like,
it's really hard
because I think we both are very much oversharers. Because like we're just, in my golden view of it, why we're oversharers is because we just want to be able to share our experiences with other people without filter.
Yes.
And I mean, other people might just be like, it's because you guys just like hearing your own voice. But I really think it's just I am a person who has to process things out loud, work my way through it kind of thing.
Yeah, that's another thing that I'm trying to get better about, is figuring out in my own body.
Yeah.
Part of it is, I think I always want to be authentic on the podcast, and I don't want to ever, not that I would lie, but I think it's important to have certain conversations.
Yeah.
And I don't want to limit myself, but I think like where I'm trying to have the specific boundary for one that I'm fully keeping is if something's not like fully baked, I guess is like the term that I would use. Like, if I'm not fully figuring it out, if I'm not fully over the situation, or if I'm not fully processed what I'm thinking, I don't want to prematurely talk about it.
That makes total sense.
So that's kind of like where I'm at. I kind of want to do like a whole episode on emotional abuse.
Yeah.
But I am not there yet.
Yeah, I think that's definitely when you want to take your time to make sure you're ready to talk about all of it. And like,
and I want to do it on my own terms and the way I want to do it. And like, because there's so many things that I think about doing, like even on social media. But I'm like, I think like this would trigger me more.
Yeah.
And I would just, and the whole point of it would be is to be helpful to other people. And just, I mean, sharing your experience makes you feel less alone.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
So I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it.
That's a really weird jump from us talking about my poster book.
I know. Again, the camera died and I had to stop recording, obviously. And so we were saying how like we just keep beat bopping around.
Because there was something I wanted to share about the poster book that
please.
I think is a really interesting fact about me that you might not know. But in college, I then somehow got like the dream job of interning for Bop and Tiger Beat magazine.
And what is that?
So they're like the magazines that have like all the posters in them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so they were like a big deal in my life when I was like in middle school. And I was like,
that's so funny.
I cannot, like, it would be so cool to work there someday. And so I had an online internship.
Oh my God, you manifested that.
Yeah. And it was right. That was a close one. That would have sucked.
We're good.
So it was right when One Direction was on the rise, and so I got to write a lot of articles about One Direction. And
Are you a big fan?
I mean, I wouldn't say like I'm a big 1D supporter, but like I'm not mad at them either. Like I like their music and I liked them.
Who's your
the time.
favorite?
Well, now it's definitely Harry. At the time, it was, I mean, like I really liked Zayn. I thought Zayn was the hottest. If I had to like choose who was the hottest, and
I liked Niall.
yeah, Niall.
how you
I get that too. But it was a really fun job. One of my favorite parts that I did for that job was I started a ask your questions and I would answer them like as your like big sister kind of vibe.
Oh, I love that.
And like getting the questions about like girls who are starting their periods and not sure how to tell their family, or like embarrassed because they're not wearing a bra yet in gym class and all the girls are making fun of them and stuff. And it's those moments where I like felt like, you know what, I am doing something.
I know. It's like, is this where it started?
I don't know if it's where it started, because like I think I was already doing that like through Girl Scouts and stuff of like helping, like being camp counselor kind of vibes. But it was fun to do that in a more professional setting. I think that was like one of the highlights of the job, was doing that part.
I don't know exactly like where you want to start, because you worked for Planned Parenthood and
yeah. How about, can I just give like background of where I came, where I'm at now?
Yes.
Okay, so in 2016, Trump was elected president. We'll start there.
Don't remind me.
Yeah. That was the first election that, I mean, I voted in Obama's presidencies because like his first campaign was the first time I could vote. And in 2016, when Trump was elected president, I was so blindsided because I definitely thought Hillary was going to win. I was so excited for a female president, like, and grew up as a Girl Scout. So like,
I was blindsided this one too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was actually, it was pretty bad because I'm very pro women and people of other genders than male, and as we've discussed, and
they're like, we get it.
Like, come on, Jessica, one horse trick pony. But that night,
no more men are listening to this episode.
I didn't know if that was a large audience of yours, so now I'm also any of your Republican audience are now going to turn off.
I don't know about the politics, but it's like way over 60% women, so I think we're okay.
But trigger warning, I actually like tried to commit suicide that night, and
oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that I don't like, it's not a secret, but it's also just not something that ever comes up emotionally. It was a very bad night for me because I just like was like, I can't believe people would vote for this monster. Like, I was so in shock. And at the time I was working a job that I hated at the local university. I worked in development as their database manager, and it was just a bunch of terrible office politics that you expect at every job. But like having a boss tell me that I'm too much of a know-it-all in meetings, and I'm like,
oh my God,
I think about that almost every day. Like,
I fucking hate this.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started. A woman having a fucking opinion in the corporate world is like frowned upon, and then the amount of men who have, this is again just shitting on men, the amount of men that have taken my ideas and run with them and then ignored me. Oh my God.
It was even worse that this was a female boss, and it was almost a whole female office. There was only 2 males that worked in it, and she said I was being too much of a know-it-all. It was like misogyny, internalized misogyny. I mean, the male coworker once brought dart guns for us to like shoot each other with guns, like 2 days after like a school shooting happened at a college university, and they couldn't understand why I was so mad about that.
Overreacting?
Yeah, I was overreacting.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, so I was working a shit job and hated it. So then a job opened up at Planned Parenthood. It was for a organizer, like organized closets. Like what? I didn't know about what advocacy organizing was. So it was a whole new thing. But I applied to the job and I ended up getting it and really learning the landscape a bit more. And so as the organizer for Fort Wayne Planned Parenthood, I was in charge of all of our like advocacy side of things. So not like providing healthcare services, but instead I'm the person who gets volunteers to go lobby their legislator or to write postcards or do other volunteering activities. Within my first 6 months of being at the job, my clinic got closed down by antis. The landlord took away our lease because too many people were protesting all the time outside his businesses. We didn't open back up for 17 months.
Out of pure curiosity, were you even providing abortion care at that clinic?
No. Yeah. At our clinic, we were only providing reproductive health services.
Yeah, like screenings and stuff.
Yeah, screenings, general pap smears, STI tests.
Birth
control, counseling of like if you're pregnant, like options that you have, referring you to other clinics or other options. For 17 months we're trying to open, and every business or realtor that we started working with, antis in the area would like dox them and say that you'll never get work again if you help these people. Being in that role really taught me a lot about how state politics work, because that was kind of our role. And often organizers would come and go, but often I was the only organizer for the state. So I really got to learn the whole state's landscape and not just Northeast Indiana's landscape. And it had been a while since I had taken Indiana government classes. Like 4th grade was the last time. So
yeah, I don't know shit about the government.
Yeah. So I was like,
you've actually been educating me so much on like making it so I understand, like in layman's terms.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense now.
That's what, so that was my job though, was teaching people how government works in layman terms and feel your own advocacy to stand up and fight back kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I was in that role from 2018 to 2022. So I saw half of Trump's presidency, and COVID organizing completely changed with COVID, like, because you went from all in-person activities to all online activities. And I hated organizing. I loved people being able to share the story, and I loved the public speaking aspect and the educating aspect. I hated the numbers game of meeting my metrics, and I hate phone banking. I'm like every millennial, I have phone anxiety. And naturally introverted, so I don't like one-on-one meetings with new people. And I felt gross having to ask volunteers to do things without getting paid for them, or I can do it and I get paid for my time. So some of the most beautiful moments were when a person would sit down next to me and be like, I've never told anyone this story in the last 70 years, but here's what happened to me and why like these services are so important to me. One of my favorite pictures were during when Indiana was in special session to ban abortion. There's this picture that one of my best friends took of her daughter, because she brings her daughter to all of her state house stuff and all of her different protests, because she wants to raise a strong, independent daughter who knows that like these legislators are here for her.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of her like reading a book in the middle of the atrium while like there's like all these protests happening around her. And it's like strong moments like that. And that's what keeps you going in such a hard field, because like I was getting death threats. I was like anonymous messages on Facebook because I was on the news a lot. I was a pretty public figure. Like I was the face of Planned Parenthood for this area.
Yeah.
One neighborhood I was living in before I started working there, one of the nurse practitioners lived in that neighborhood, and that neighborhood was canvassed with flyers with her address and her kids' names and pictures saying that she is a baby killer, even though they don't provide abortion services. And so like this is like things like I always had to keep in the back of my mind about public safety. So I made sure not to have like stickers on my car, have a pretty nondescript car. Always keep an eye if someone's tailing me, following me, like never go the same way home. Which is such a like already it's hard to be a woman and not be scared for your safety, but then like have this extra
like layer to
it. And then one of the real turning points was when I was at a protest here in Fort Wayne, and the antis like one, knew my name, which isn't that surprising, but then they knew my parents' name and like asked if like my parents would be ashamed of what I was doing. And at this point, my parents are very supportive of what they do. While my parents and I don't see everything politically, like they very much are like supportive and for abortion rights and for women to have like agency over their own body. A role opened up in the data aspect side, so managing all of our online tools that we use at Planned Parenthood. And I was already doing that for just Indiana, but this would be taking it over for all 6 of our local affiliate states, which is Alaska, Washington, Hawaii, Idaho, Indiana, and Kentucky. Unfortunately, because of who our president was elected and just the general like economic crisis we're in, I was part of staff reductions. So I lost my job in January.
Yeah.
And that was quite hard because like it's hard to leave a job that you love.
Yeah.
And so I've been working on a couple other projects with some local volunteers. And actually, like, you know, when you are in a job and you're like, these people do not know what they're missing out. Like, if I'm gone, no one can do this, right? Like, everyone knows that.
It's the ego.
Yeah, it's definitely the ego.
Like, they're totally going to fail.
And I had one of those moments that, like, every person dreams of. I met up with a previous coworker, just asked about, like, how's things? How's it going? And they were like, oh, my God, everything is a shit show without you. No one knew how much you did.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, knew it.
That's so validating, but also it's like it's such an important like piece for women, like a company, and so that's also like terrifying.
Yeah, it's like I don't want this for you, but also, man, that was great to hear.
I know.
Like
I've had a similar conversation, but it was the opposite. They're like, "Yeah, we're doing great." I'm like, "What? Like how?"
I should have left earlier.
I know, truly.
But so what I've been doing now is I'm working with this organization called MADVoters, which is an all volunteer-led organizing group that stands for Mutually Assured Democracy. They've popped up the last 2 years, and last legislative session, I followed their socials all the time because they are the best at sharing what's actually happening in the Indiana State House.
Is this on Instagram or TikTok, or where is this at?
They are on Instagram, Blue Sky, Facebook, TikTok. They're everywhere but X.
Okay.
So,
makes sense.
Yeah. They said they were there, but, for reasons, they moved them. So,
wonder why.
Yeah, crazy. But, like, last legislative session, I was like, wow, this group is amazing. And, like, I also care about non-reproductive health issues, too. And so, that's what I loved about MADVoters is that they were sharing all this information. I felt so informed by them. So, I'm like, well, now that I'm no longer with Planned Parenthood, I can start volunteering with other orgs and not feel like a weird crossover. Like, should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? I've now met with this team multiple times and learning that, like, they're all moms with, like, young children that are, like, doing all of this work for free. So I've been helping with their bill watch and helping manage. So they even have enough volunteers that they were able to break up all the different bills that are happening into, like, 6 different groups, and they had people who would read the bills and watch all the bill hearings and everything.
And this is just specific to Indiana?
Yeah, just Indiana stuff.
Okay.
And I was just so amazed because I could never get anyone to watch session, let alone testify. And here they're like having multiple people who go testify on something and watch the videos and stuff. And I'm like, you guys don't understand how impressive this is. So I'm always blowing smoke up their ass in a good way.
And when you say go and testify, can you explain what that means? Yeah.
So when a bill is being in the process of becoming a law, the first step is that it goes to a committee, and either the House or the Senate. And in that committee, they generally have a portion where public can come and speak on the bill. Mm-hmm. So they can either be speaking for or against the bill, and that's called testifying, where you come and give your story of why this bill should be supported or why this bill should be voted down. Mm-hmm. And so that's what testifying is, and that's anybody can go and do that. You don't have to be part of any organization.
Do you, is there a rule on, where you have to declare if you're for or against it, or is that just happening, when you're speaking to it?
It depends on the committee. So that's the unfortunate thing about our legislators, not the whole Indiana General Assembly, is that it's intentionally made to be difficult because they don't want a lot of people to come in and talk about a thing.
Yeah.
And so every committee chairman, there's very few women that are chairs. So every chairperson gets to decide what the rules are of their committee and how testifying will work. So some you have to register online the night before.
Okay.
Some you have to show up in person like half hour before the meeting and sign a slip of paper. And some it's just whatever.
It kind of feels like there should just be guidelines.
Yeah, you would think that would be great, but it's not. But generally, you do declare if you're for or against. Some committees, they read in order that people signed up, and then some, they do like all of the opposition first or all of the approvals first.
Yeah.
And then depending on the chairperson, also, they could be like, generally you get 3 minutes to speak, but maybe they'll be running behind, so they'll let the people for a bad bill talk as long as they want and then only give 30 seconds to all the people who are against the bill. Like there's no standardization. What I've been doing to help with the bill watch is to teach people and answer any questions that people have about how to watch these videos. So right now in Indiana, you can watch a live stream of any committee or floor hearing. So whether that it's a committee on the Senate side or committee on the House side, all of that is live streamed on the Indiana General Assembly's website. And I say IGA a lot. So if I switch into acronyms, that's what I mean. IGA stands for Indiana General Assembly. My job is just kind of check in with all the different groups, make sure that like they're watching, updating their notes about like if a bill gets like amendments added to it, are those amendments were for or against kind of thing.
I know that you said that you had been following them and then you chose to start volunteering with them. Did you say, hey, it looks like you could use X, Y, and Z? Or did you say, hey, I want to work with you? And then they kind of gave you?
Yeah, I just filled out their general volunteer application form. Like I wanted to get involved. And luckily they knew who I was.
Okay.
And so they were excited to see me. And I was like, well, I'd like to be, like, I love what you guys are doing at Bill Watch. Like, can I be part of that signal chat? And then they have a director of advocacy, and we had a meeting together, and she's like, oh my God, can you help me with X, Y, and Z?
Oh, good. Okay.
So, and so they have an online public bill tracker on their website, and it's also a Google Sheet document where every day we're updating where all these bills are, what the call to action is, like what you can do to stop this bill or to promote this bill, like if it's a good bill. Then I've had some other ideas percolating in my mind of things that like I think just should exist in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, since I'm a free agent right now, I can work on that's what I'm calling it. Instead I'm unemployed, just sitting in my bedroom, nothing to do. So
in your free time.
Yeah, in my free time, I've been working on some projects, and but right now, so on the IGA website, you can watch all these videos live streamed, and they are recorded, so you can watch the recordings, but during the live stream, there is closed captioning, but it only works for like 3 lines, and like you can't go forward or backwards on the video and see like the closed captioning. And then on the recordings, you have to request the closed captioning, like it's just not there. And I think that's dumb for people who are hearing impaired.
Yep.
And also, or people who are bad audio processors like I am. Love podcasts, but man, can I not focus listening to someone talk if it's important? Like, hard to understand stuff like a legislative process.
All the time. I'm like, what was that?
I am like, there needs to be transcripts for everything. And I've talked to my representative and to tell him, hey, there should be transcripts. Like, you guys are already doing closed captioning. Why aren't they publicly available yet? So they're not. So what I've done is I have found a way to transcribe all of the sessions and meetings so far. It's like 13 days and 17 hours and 33 minutes worth of video.
In your free time.
In my free time. And transcribed them all using software. So like I can't say the transcriptions are perfect because there's no way I would get through that without pulling my hair. So I've done that all and have created a way for public to view all of these meetings and all these transcripts.
Wait, and it is available to the public? Okay, because I know that you texted links to things in our group chat, but I hadn't had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, the transcript one is public.
Okay, so question. Am I allowed to put that in the overview of the episode?
Yeah,
for people
I think
to go look at? Yeah,
that went along with the MADVoters public one. It's been kind of a fun coding project because I taught myself how to write Google app scripts to pull the API. I'm getting real technical nerdy on you. To pull the API data of all the meetings and when they happen. And then I code it so that when I put that file in the folder on Google Drive, the spreadsheet updates. So I'm working on it.
She was showing it to me yesterday, and I'm not a big I think Excel is amazing when you know how to use it.
Yes.
And I am not one of those people. It's like very basic. I'm like Googling how to do things, but I was like amazed. I was like, oh my God, this is so like, it's, first of all, it's intuitive, which I think is important. And then just like the work that you put behind it, I was so impressed.
Well, thank you. I'm tooting my own horn. I'm impressed with myself too,
please.
that I learned how to do it. And hopefully soon you can like register to like get updates for it. I'm working out a way to hopefully get that in the next day or so. But the larger goal behind the transcripts, like what I would really like to do with this information, is use some different software that processes qualitative data, tags different pieces of the transcripts. So like when a legislator maybe has a really powerful speech, like tagging that, so then I can go and pull the clip for socials or something like that. Or even just to track the trends of legislative comments throughout. So like maybe to be able to see like, okay, the senator talked about wanting no government oversight on what he spends his money on when it comes to like taxes, but yet is pro the state releasing the TPNs, which are like the different people who've had abortions throughout the year. Like he's pro government sharing that information, but against the government knowing how he spends his money,
so the discrepancies.
Yeah.
Is this something, which I guess I don't know the rules and I'm not sure if you know this, but can we use like AI for this? Is that allowed? I mean, it's public information, so I'm assuming.
The only thing that the IGA website recording says has like a little disclaimer at the bottom that like nothing that they say in the video can they be held accountable for it? Like, so you can't like sue them, I think, essentially over it, but we totally can use it.
Information is knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I was using. There was this one software that I was researching called Atlas TI that has an AI component to do the auto tagging of like, here, I'll give you all this transcripts. You find all the important pieces for me because I don't have time to go through 13 days and 17 hours of transcript. But that's essentially what I want to do, is be able to have some sort of dashboard for coalition partners and for the public of like, here's what's happening right now in the state house. Here's different trends we're seeing. Here's some hype, some hypocrisy moments. Here's some strong, powerful speeches moments. And we can use that information to like pull the actual clips of video and have it for either socials to spread. Imagine if you got like an email with compilation of all of like your representatives' dumb moments in the state house. Like that would be something that we could do with this, is like target people in certain legislative districts to hear what their legislator has been saying about them. And
I think most of us, unless something goes viral, we don't see any of it.
Exactly.
We're not looking it up. We're not checking in. A lot of people don't even vote when it's a local election.
Yeah. And I think it's also, nobody has time to watch all these videos to learn what's happening during legislative sessions. So even just being able to give like an overview of, and the average person, like if I had a regular job, like last thing I'd want to do is like then go watch a 6-hour video about people arguing what my tax dollars are going to.
I'm not doing it. I personally, I try to, it's like a balance.
Totally.
If you're paying attention, it's hard on your mental health.
Totally.
And I don't have 6 hours to
give. Yeah. And that's just for one meeting. Then there's 6 hours over in the House and then like 4 hours of committee hearings.
Nope.
Like, and I totally get that. Like I've decided I needed to focus on state only news and national when it's relevant. And this last week, the Indiana session has been on a break, so I paid attention to national news, and now I'm like, nope, let's close that door, which is a very, very privileged thing to be able to do, but definitely needed for mental health.
Yeah.
Big dream, and I'm actually meeting with a group of volunteers tonight to start thinking out like, how can we make this a reality? Like I found people smarter than me, so now we're all going to be in a room to work on figuring it out. And like we want to be able to do a couple different things, like build a custom chat GPT where any average public user can like ask the GPT a question about like a bill that's happening and be able to get information. I want to be able to build a dashboard of trends for like coalition partners, so other organizations that all have similar values have a place where they can all see that information and use it to create their own talking points, have a public facing view, one for relates to the public, and hold their legislators accountable. And so right now, we know this isn't going to be something we can accomplish by the end of legislative session, which is the end of like middle of April this year. It's something that we can work to build on to make a better product for next year. Basically, I just want to be able to take all of this information that I know and make it digestible for the average person. Because I think if people knew behind all the buzzwords what's actually happening, I don't think a lot of people would be happy about it.
We were talking about this yesterday, just the news source that you're getting information from, it's their interpretation of it, which could be wrong, could be wrong, and then it's skewed based on their own impression of it and their personal opinion, and there's propaganda and all of this stuff. So I think it's great what you're doing, and like I hear like you get so passionate about this stuff, which it like that is not where my passion lies, but I know how fucking important it is. So I'm so glad we have people like you in this world. I love when people want to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Because it's just lacking sometimes. And then I'm like, okay, how can we like have you do this, but also you can make a lot of money so that way you can keep doing it. You know what I mean?
You sound like my parents. They're like, and how will this help with you getting a job? Have you applied to jobs today? And I'm like, I coded this cool app. And they're like, but have you applied to jobs that will pay you today?
This is so, like, first of all, you can put this work on a resume.
Yes.
And so the type of field that you want to be in anyways, I think we'll see this as value. Yeah. Same, but different. I'm in the same realm of how can I make my passions make me money? So that way we can keep doing this and do more of it. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's like same, but different. But I don't have the answers yet. But I feel like I have ideas. For you.
I am so excited to hear them because I am a person who hated politics but found my way in politics, and I want to be able to teach other people who are also like, politics are too confusing and just shut it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's how I was. I was like, it's too overwhelming and confusing. Like, and also I think a lot in Indiana, there's a lot of apathy that nothing can ever change. And so what's the point? Because right now,
I've heard that.
Right now, Indiana is in
some of people, sorry, not to interrupt you, but I know people that don't vote specific to the Democratic vote because they think that there's no point. And I'm like, but how many views are there in Indiana specifically or wherever that think that? Like, what if? Who knows? I don't know.
Totally. Like, there's so many people who I hear that from, and so many people think they're the only person in their county that feels that way, and then being able to connect them to their neighbors who are like, they didn't realize all felt the same way. I want to show that we're in a super majority, which means that more than half of both the House and the Senate are Republican. And so there's a lot of like rules that get bypassed because they're a super majority. Being able to show people that, you know, if we just flipped 4 seats in the House, it wouldn't be a super majority anymore. And that's like way easier of a number to think about than trying to flip like every seat.
And super digestible too.
Yeah. Like, because one thing that's happening a lot right now in the House is that when a bill is brought up for what's called second reading, so that means all of the House, all of our representatives are listening to this bill. And this is when they can bring up amendments to change the bill, and then they vote on the amendments. Let's say that the bill is about couches, and it's like every house must have a couch with 3 seats, okay? Let's say we're very much against that because we think people should have any kind of seats that they want.
Yeah.
If you brought up an amendment to that couch bill that was everyone should have a dog, that would be considered non-germane, meaning that it is not relevant to what the bill actually is about. Well, right now, our legislators on the Democrat side are bringing up amendments that are very much germane, meaning like if it was the couch scenario, maybe they have an amendment and that couch must have a footstool. All right. So that like it's relevant. Like it's still about couches and like how you're seating in your living room. Our Republican legislators are calling non-germane on things that are germane. So like in a real life example that's not about couches. Let's say it is a bill about how to like apply for a charter school. This isn't like an exact example, but let's say that the Democrats put in an amendment that all of the leaders of a charter school have to have a degree. And the Republican parties are calling that non-germane, saying that that's not relevant to how should a charter school be applied. when you're like, but that is very relevant. And the reasoning why they're doing that is so that there's no public roll call vote where you can see that they voted against this good thing. So they're not being held accountable.
Oh, shit.
Because they can just rule that's non-germane. The Democrats can then can appeal that, and then they do a vote on whether or not everyone thinks that this is germane or not germane. They don't want to vote that, like, have a public record of them voting against a very positive thing. And if they rule it as non-germane, then they don't have to vote on it. So I want to flag all these moments.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And like write an op-ed about it.
Because
I had no idea. I didn't know
no
what
clue.
non-germane was before this year. I had to ask a lot of questions to figure this out.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited for you.
Oh, thank you.
I do find it interesting because it's something that I don't know a ton about, because I like to learn, and I think when people can make it interesting or digestible for, me who has no clue, I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, I think it's like connecting people both from an education point of view and then connecting people to each other. Like, I think it feels very isolating sometimes.
Yeah.
In the way the world is right now in a red state. And
yeah. Well, and it's just a lot of fighting.
Yeah, and it's exhausting.
And you're afraid to even bring it up sometimes.
Yeah, like you don't know what that person's going to flip out on you. I don't mention what I do for work until I know a person feels safe. But it's also exhausting feeling that you're always in, just like in a relationship, if you're always in the flight or fight mode personally, and then also you're in that way constantly with politics too. We need more people in the field so we can lean on each other and not just the same people are doing all the work. So in the summer of 22, back in the day, Indiana was going through an abortion ban. It was a 2-week special session. But in the summer of 2022, Roe v. Wade fell. And at that point, I was the only organizer for Indiana for Planned Parenthood. And so I packed up my whole computer tower, like not my laptop, like my desktop computer, brought it all to the hotel and set up a battle station in the hotel. And we got word that the Vice President Harris was going to come to town and that we might have a chance to meet her. And we had to write a bio. And I think I wrote about how I'm an organizer and how hard it is to be working in Indiana, how both beautiful it can be from people's stories, but also how tiring it can be. I was like, no one's actually going to read these bios, but whatever. I'll write it. And so then I got invited to a meeting that was supposed to be 15 minutes with Vice President Harris and other young advocates to talk about how we feel Indiana is, how do we think like things could improve, like what could be done to make change in Indiana. And it was a small group of us, I think like 6 or 7. The conversation ended up lasting like almost an hour, and she like brought her assistants over to be taking notes the whole time. Like she truly, genuinely was listening to us. And I'd never felt that way from like a national politics person. And that she had to she messed up her whole schedule because she wanted to keep talking to us. So I felt bad for the people who had to manage that schedule, but it felt great for us.
Yeah.
And so then we're doing the photo line where she's shaking each of our hands. We take a photo with her, and she stopped me and she was like, I just want you to know, like, I know the work that you're doing is so hard, but do you hear those people out there yelling? All the women that came before you, all the women that will come after you are here with you now in this moment, and don't ever feel alone. And I'm a crier, so like I started crying. Yeah. And so I start walking away, like tearing up. I'm like, thank you, ma'am. And she grabs my arm, pulls me back, and she's like, your compassion is your strength. Don't ever lose it. And I felt like she saw into my soul, because in that moment, it was the 2nd week of this ban. I was so utterly exhausted. My mom was in the hospital.
Yeah.
We have thousands upon thousands of people outside wanting to know from me what can they do, while watching our legislators legislate away access to our body. And then at that moment, for someone who's never met me see right into my soul and see the key piece of me of what keeps me going, it was just one of the most powerful moments.
I think I've heard that story like 3 or 4 times now, and it gives me chills every single time.
Yeah. I definitely want to get a tattoo that says compassion's your strength. So.
Yeah. And I think that's just, I think the level of like humanity and soul and the time is so important, especially like from a political leader.
Yeah, and then she sent me a Christmas card.
It's just the little details. I love that.
I know. Then I was like, when my parents didn't vote for her, I was like, she's the only presidential candidate that ever sent us a Christmas card, and you guys aren't going to vote for her.
Yeah. I was shocked. And then I talked to other people, and they're like, how were you shocked that she didn't win? And I think it just goes to show that I surround myself. I hate to say like-minded people, because then that sounds bad.
Yeah, but
I
think it's for your own health to surround yourself with people who have the same beliefs as you.
Yeah, it's and I definitely have friends that maybe don't fully align with me, but we don't talk about it.
No, yeah.
And so maybe that's just why. So yeah, I was shocked. I cried. It was a sad day.
I wasn't as shocked on the national scale. I was very upset because we were told if that's the way the elections go, we'd probably all lose our jobs. So like that was a lot of pressure.
And then it
happened. Yeah. I was very shocked on some of our local elections, like statewide elections, like for Attorney General. I didn't think anybody liked Todd Rokita. So like I was very shocked that he kept his seat. He's the one who, Dr. Bernard, is an amazing physician. She provided abortion services for the 10-year-old, and then he drug her through the mud for the last year, 2 years at this point, and has had so many lawsuits against him, and he keeps losing them. And so I'm like, I can't believe anyone's voting for this guy. And
people probably don't know.
Well, and same with the Diego Morales, who is now our Indiana State Secretary. He actually got fired from the state secretary office before running for elections because he never did anything. And all of his resume was found out to be fake. Like he lied on his resume about all of these different jobs and awards that he had and education that he had. And yet still people voted for him to win. And now he's like...
That's so scary.
Now he is honoring all these contracts illegally through family businesses and hiring relatives to be paid like six figures, way more than anyone ever got paid in that role beforehand. It's totally unqualified, but because of straight ticket voting, if you just hit that R, you aren't looking at everyone who's included on that.
And I really don't know many people that do like local election voting.
So that's why we have to be out there educating them.
Yeah, it's so important. Thank you so much. Is there anything else? Do you want to promote like your creations?
I don't have any place for people to find them, but
okay.
I do enjoy crocheting.
You have your Instagram.
Yeah, I do have an Instagram, Starlit Loops, starlit.loops on Instagram.
I can put that in the description.
Yeah. It's not very active right now, but I do post some of my crochet stuff in there. Keep an eye out for maybe a spring market or spring sale on there.
Okay.
Trying to find it.
Perfect.
But anything I would really want to do is just plug into MADVoters socials.
Yeah.
And
I can put
find
that
an
in the
event near
description
you.
as well.
So they're all across the state.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for inviting me. I love chatting with you.
Yeah, I love this so much.
Me too.
All right. And you can follow me at Abby McCarville or the Oat Pod on Instagram. All right. Love you guys. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh.